Can you explain exactly what you would like the government to do and how it would help people in the here and now?
Immediately repeal these so-called carbon taxes or green taxes that they put on liquid fuels, on kerosene, on petrol, on diesel, on home heating oil. These are the only things that are working right now in the hard-hit parts of Ireland that still 6 days on, going to 7 days shortly, do not have power. This is how we're working our generators, our chainsaws, the stuff that we're using to cut ourselves out of this mess, and to boil water and help people out locally who have been left stranded because they don't have new homes with fireplaces in them, or if they have council houses that they're in some cases retrofitted because some idiot thought putting solar panels on it and taking away the fireplace was a good idea. And people are now really stuck. I've literally been delivering boiling water to people in those circumstances within the last hour. And that's what's going on. So these taxes on diesel, on these fuels, on kerosene, on home heating oil, something that the Dáil could do if they could be bothered to come off their holidays and go back and start to legislate is to immediately repeal those taxes, because they are charging us money for policies that have proven to have failed, and they're making us pay to cut ourselves out of a mess that they have played a major part in making. Now, they're not responsible for the weather, but they are responsible for the policies that put people in a much tougher position than they needed it to be, and they are inflicting a cost burden on people by charging us these taxes on these fuels, which are the only things that are working, where the things that the basic services that the government are supposed to support are not working.
Oisín Coghlan from Friends of the Earth is with us as well. Oisín, given the predicament people find themselves in and their reliance on those fuels at the moment for heat and for electricity, if those fuels are powering generators, should we scrap those taxes?
Well, I think the government should be doing absolutely whatever it can do to help the people who are suffering right now, and that includes financial help, absolutely. But I am slightly mystified by what Declan thinks this will achieve. Like, he's mentioning the carbon taxes on diesel and petrol as well as on home heating oil. In each case, they add about 2 cents a year to the price, right? So in the case of petrol and diesel, the VAT and the excise is far higher, a far larger proportion of what we pay when we pay diesel or petrol is excise and VAT. Is he thinking, as he's saying, they should be taken away as well? Why is he focusing on the carbon tax, which is much smaller? And like the excise went up recently because they brought it down when Russia invaded Ukraine, and have put them back up again. So I presume if he cares about the price as opposed to sort of vice signalling around fossil fuels and how wonderful they are, he thinks the actual excise and VAT should come down just as much. But I also think, like, you know, what's very clear is that burning fossil fuels is causing climate change, which is, supercharging intense weather and weather extremes as we see climate breakdown accelerating. And if I understand Declan, he's saying the government should basically encourage us all to burn more fossil fuels rather than looking at what the solution is here, which is A, containing climate breakdown, slowing it down, preventing it as much as possible, and B, moving to a much more resilient fuel system. I've been talking to people around the country today, and actually the houses that have been least affected are the ones that are best insulated for a start, even before you get to electricity.
Honestly, this is too much bullshit to listen to on Declan, one programme.
Let me finish my point. I was heard of a house today where they had really good insulation, and over the course of 3 days, where they had no electricity and no heating, they only lost half a degree of temperature in total because their house was so well insulated. If you add to that solar PV, batteries and electric cars, you actually have a power source in your house that can charge your essential stuff while you're waiting for the grid to be re-established.
Declan, let's go through that bit by bit. Why the focus on green taxes as opposed to cutting VAT or excise?
Because they're moronic. And we've just heard a green moron spouting the same nonsense that we've been hearing for years and supporting policies that have people in new houses with all of these environmental regulated fixtures and fittings that don't work. Their EVs are sitting in their driveways. They can't move them. They can't open their electric gates. They can't heat their homes. This is not one or two instances. This is house after house after house. People are experiencing this. They've retrofitted houses that did have fireplaces in them where you could burn turf or timber or coal or whatever, and they've retrofitted them with panels and with systems that are now not working. So people are having to get help to boil water, to cook their food and everything else.
But just to repeat the question. No, I just
coming
let me
back to
repeat
the
the
green
question.
taxes.
Yeah, why the focus?
Taxes.
I'm not quite sure. If you find kind of calling names gets you far in other arguments, but nevertheless, I mean,
you know what? Come down here and spend a week. Spend a week where people can't have a bath, can't have a shower, cannot boil water, haven't had running water for days at a time, and while it's fine to spend time to be up in Dublin, I know you're far removed from this, and it's not impacting people up there. It's really impacting people here.
But that's because a supercharged storm has knocked out their electricity. And the state is, the ESB, everyone's very praising of the ESB workers and those who've been joined from around Europe to put the power back in place. So it's the lack of electricity that's causing this problem.
It's not, as I said, they're not responsible for the weather. We know weather events happen.
And they happen more often because of climate change.
Apparently. So let's talk about climate change and talk about it. China is installing in 2025 100 new coal plants. 150 gigawatts of coal power is being built in China right now. The idea that we are going to put our own people into these crippling circumstances when the difference that we make is like moving one grain of sand from a beach at a time. We have no effect, none. No effect whatsoever. It's pure virtue signaling.
Declan, can I ask you a question though? I mean, again, to just come back to what was the reason we're having this discussion, which was your point about repealing the so-called green taxes, and to Oisín's point that, I mean, if your concern was making those fuels more affordable for people during a crisis, surely the call would have been to cut VAT or excise, given they're much more, just more impactful. But so in calling for green taxes, are you not just taking advantage of the situation people find themselves in to kind of score a point in the climate culture wars? That's kind of low, isn't it?
The green the green taxes were the most recent taxes that were imposed on fuel. They can be repealed first. Then certainly lower the other taxes on liquid fuels. They're way too expensive in Ireland anyway, and clearly they're the only thing that works when you're really in a pinch, as has been proven to be the case now, where we have policy failure manifest for hundreds of square miles around from where I am right now. So yes, repeal them first. Certainly lower the other liquid fuel taxes and gas taxes, because those are the things that work. Those are the things that are proven to be able to save people's lives and stop them from dying of hypothermia in dire times, in difficult times like this. So yes, repeal all of them.
Just for perspective, the carbon tax adds 2 cents a year to the price of petrol, because since the Russian invasion, per litre, 2 cents per litre a year. The price of petrol and diesel has gone up and down by about 50 cents, from €1.50 to €2. It's the excise and the international price. The carbon tax isn't what's driving the price.
Such a small number that we should immediately get rid of them because they make no difference. I agree. Let's get rid of them. We're in agreement. It's such a small amount of money; it makes no difference to you.
Let Oisín make a point.
They need to be gone. Then we move on to the next one.
If your point is, do the carbon tax change your behaviour, in a huge way? The answer to that, I think, is no. But it's a signal to business in particular that fossil fuels will get more and more expensive.
Hang on a second. Yes, it is a signal.
Hang on a second.
Yes.
This year,
and that's all it is, a virtue signal.
This year, because of the carbon tax, the government is spending €469 million on grants to people to make their homes warmer. It's spending €306 million on social protection, including €100 million on the fuel allowance to allow people to buy fuel for their homes.
China's building 150 gigawatts of coal-fired power. You are peeing into the wind. It makes no difference. You need to build nuclear power stations in Ireland small modular reactors if you really want carbon-free power.
Declan,
there's 10 debates happening here.
I'll come on to China in a second, but the government is spending close to €1 billion on social protection, on farming, and on retrofitting with the carbon tax this year. If we didn't have that money, would you prefer to pay higher income tax? Would you support higher corporation tax? Or would you support...
Where do you think that money's coming from? The magic money tree? We're paying for that.
Yes,
out
we
of
are.
Our taxes.
Yes, so if you want to abolish, that tax...
the hard-working people of Ireland and putting it into
social protection. Into social protection.
About the people in rural Ireland right now.
It's been put into social protection, into retrofitting grants, and into farming schemes.
Social protection. The people that are coming up getting boiling water
into
from
fuel
me today.
allowance,
How much social protection have they got?
Into working family payment. So if you don't have that money, would you rather pay higher corporation tax?
You're a bunch of Greta Thunbergs,
would you rather support a wealth tax
morons,
or income tax?
Have put this country, and particularly rural Ireland, into a horrible situation, and you continue to pontificate with this expensive nonsense. People are cold in their homes, and they're going to be cold in their homes tonight because of this kind of thinking.
I thought we were debating how best.
I think the storm is the reason.
Yeah, I thought we were debating how best to fund the supports that people should get, whether it should be corporation tax or wealth tax or carbon tax or income tax. You seem to be saying don't fund it at all and don't make it happen. But we want the state to be in a position to support people, not just in this storm, but to be resilient for the future storms.
The state. What you are seeing out my window right now is state failure. State failure. That's what you're seeing.
The ESB,
right now.
The ESB is a state-owned company. So you're saying the ESB networks aren't helping at all?
The ESB networks, God bless them, they haven't got power backup running across this area right now, and I know that there are foreign crews in. I also know that the European Commission didn't get a call from anyone from Dublin until a day and a half after the storm hit, when they should have been getting a call 2 or 3 days before the storm hit. So the lack of preparedness is one issue that needs to be...
Oh, we seem to have lost Declan there, but we were kind of just about out of time anyway. Declan Ganny, the entrepreneur, Oisín Coghlan, Chief Executive of Friends of the Earth. Thank you both very much for joining me. It's almost unbelievably short-sighted, your guest Declan. While the fallout from the storm is very challenging for people still without power and water, it is a short-term issue and we will all survive it. To argue that because China's doing the wrong thing, we should all do the wrong thing is beyond obtuse. Somebody else has a kind of similar experience to the one you describe, Oisín, about their house remaining kind of warm and well insulated after several days without electricity. Some people are using EVs to put some power into their home, says somebody else. My mother in Galway has thankfully kept her open fire and she still has no power. Don't take the open fires away. I'm 100% with Declan, says another listener. Someone with common sense. 087 1400 106. We're going to be talking about Sky News Premium after the break.